In 4 weeks, the residents of Los Angeles City Council District 1 will vote in a runoff election. Incumbent City Council member Gil Cedillo is defending his seat against small business owner and community organizer Joe Bray-Ali. The race has been competitive to say the least, with passions running high on both sides. The candidates seem to embody two starkly different versions of Los Angeles. District 1 is home to roughly 250,000 people and is located mostly in the northeast section of the city. It includes neighborhoods like Lincoln Heights, MacArthur Park, Chinatown, and Mount Washington. Here to talk to us about the election is my co-host Joe Brizzolara. Joe, what'd you find?
Thanks, Jake. Well, things have continued to intensify. First, though, let's get some more background on Council District 1. I got a chance to speak with Dr. Raphe Sonenshein, Executive Director of the Pat Brown Institute for Public Affairs at California State University, Los Angeles.
District 1 was created in, I believe, 1986 as part of a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles by Mexican, then called Mexican American, now we would say Latino voting organizations. Because at the time, there was only one district, number 14, which is the district where our school is located, that was really a Latino district. And through a complicated set of things that happened, the city lost the case and had to create a second Latino seat. Okay. This is more information than you wanted, but
no, that's exactly
the first bet, they were going to take the seat of the newly elected first Asian American city council member, Mike Wu, in the 13th district of Hollywood, right up the road,
right,
and carve that to become a Latino district, which would have knocked him out. Asian Americans were very angry, and Mayor Bradley vetoed that to protect Mike Wu. So the city was now stuck. What do they do now? And then a council member of the first district, which was out on the other side of the city in the valley, died. In political terms, you'd have to say that solved the city's problem. It was quite a sad thing. He was a very well-regarded guy. They immediately moved the first district over here, which saved Mike Wu's district, the 13th, and created a second, what would be Latino district on the east side. And in those days, most of LA's Latinos lived in this part of town, not in the northeast San Fernando Valley, where a lot of people live now. Okay? That's how the first person to hold that seat was Gloria Molina. She held it until she was elected onto the County Board of Supervisors.
Right.
So that's the first council district.
This is Bray-Ali's first run for political office, but he has managed to get the endorsement of the LA Times and council member Mitch O'Farrell. Last week, a debate was held in MacArthur Park. Both candidates struggled to be heard over an unruly crowd.
Sounds nasty.
Most definitely. One audience member shouted an ethnic slur at Bray-Ali, who is of Indian descent. Afterwards, the campaign called upon Councilmember Cedillo to explain why he didn't immediately admonish the heckler. Cedillo condemned the remarks and then quickly went on the offensive, attacking Bray-Ali for a video he posted to his YouTube account in 2011. In the video, Bray-Ali submits a question to Ask a Mexican, a humorous cultural column written by Gustavo Arellano, editor of the OC Weekly.
Dear Mexican, I'd like to know why all my neighbors think that the doorbell is a car horn. They wake up my baby.
While the attacks seem to have sputtered, Bray-Ali has a lot of ground to cover if he hopes to unseat his opponent. District 1 is roughly 75% Latino, and Gil Cedillo has spent decades entrenching himself in Mexican-American politics.
Now, Gil Cedillo was a civil rights activist for many decades, very well known on the east side, very, very highly regarded. Went for the state legislature, where he was in the Assembly and the Senate, and was successful in two major bills, even though people used to tease him. They used to call him
One Bill Gil.
Yeah. But that one bill was pretty important. It was driver's
licenses for undocumented.
And he stuck with it for years. Jerry Brown vetoed it once and then eventually signed it, and really a lot of it was due to his persistence. He also pursued the California Civil Rights, the Dreamers Act, which he was behind. So the truth is, he picked a few issues and he carried them all the way through.
Right, which would have played well in District 1.
It would have.
Yeah.
He came back after his terms ended to run and was defeated for Congress by Judy Chu in a district with more Latinos than Asian Americans. And that was a kind of a disappointment to him.
Yeah.
Then the first district opened up in 2013, and he ran, but he barely won. So I think the story was that it's not a surprise that he was relatively vulnerable among incumbents. All the other incumbents this year pretty much sailed through.
Right.
This past Saturday, allegations of voter fraud came to light. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so I talked to Bray-Ali shortly after he posted a video on Facebook Live in which he went public with the allegations. Here he is explaining it.
Well, a supporter of mine had someone appear at her house 2 days ago. The guy asked for her vote by mail ballot. She denied him, and then the gentleman went to the person next door and asked the same question. And she called our office. Someone drove down there as fast as he possibly could and stopped the guy. Kind of would try to not let him leave, and he got his name and number, the company he worked for, and then where we let him go. This guy had an envelope full of people's vote by mail ballots, and a back pocket with Cedillo literature in it. And he identified himself as someone because of change in state law. He was here to collect people's ballots. So you're supposed to give your ballot to him. So he got told to F off. But that is, and so what we found is Groundworks LLC is an independent expenditure firm that's been hired by an independent expenditure by the taxi cab union or the LA Police Protective League. Look, campaigns get crazy. I understand. Maybe they're overzealous. To get to the point where someone has a manila envelope ready to collect votes, draw at some pretty serious allegations and some pretty serious nasty tricks. So I understand. I understand the stress and the pressure the other side is under. Clearly, this is an independent expenditure, but something is going wrong in our political system when when smear tactics and literally voter fraud is where we end up. So I don't know what to say because we're horrified. Number one, how many votes has this guy stolen? How many doors has he gone to with a Joe Bray-Ali sign and thrown those votes in the garbage? And number two, will there be any repercussions for this whatsoever? And number three, how will we actually make this up? I mean, he is going to outspend us 5-1. And now we have to deal with this, like a ruthless, law-breaking criminal tribe. I mean, I don't know what to say, man. It's really a sad moment.
According to Joe Bray-Ali, Cedillo is a hardball machine politician.
So when you are an institutional candidate and the guy you're running against does not have a career in public office for you to also attack, for you to attack, you got to go personal. And that's what he's doing. My campaign is not fueled by Chevron's dollars. It's not fueled by the big vested interest dollars. It's fueled because neighbors have taken ownership of talking to their neighbors about who I am and what I represent for the city and for the neighborhood. So the best way to wreck that is to make them question the character of the person they're working for.
This is complicated by the fact that many of these so-called dark money investors are also associated with Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, who endorsed Bray-Ali. Mitch O'Farrell has received campaign contributions from the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, which is partially funded by Chevron Mobile. They spent more than $35,000 to support Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell in last March's primaries. Cedillo drew the conclusion during the debate.
Speaking of Chevron, I noticed how quickly our candidate here ran to embrace Mitch O'Farrell, who's been supported by Chevron. And no problems embracing the Chevron dollars there. I noticed he talks about big business. I know he talks about big business. Like Chevron? And he knows big business. Because when I went to the Chamber of Commerce, he was trying to get a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce. When I went to BizFed, he was trying to get, he was in the lobby waiting to go talk to BizFed. And when when he came in, after he had his father call the next president of BizFed, asking if his son could get an appointment at BizFed and if she could endorse him. She's right here, Hillary Norton. You can tell and check with her about the efforts of his feelings.
Council members rarely oppose fellow incumbents, so this move is a seemingly intentional slight. While both candidates lob accusations of corruption, District 1 goes about its business in a quickly changing landscape. Median incomes are on the rise, but the district still has plenty of residents living under the poverty line. As of 2015, about 42% of households in District 1 made under $25,000 annually. The district is popular with young urban professionals who enjoy its central location and public transportation access. Low-income families are rightly worried that they are going to be priced out. Dr. Sonenshein explains.
So it's a Latino district, but it's been changing a lot.
Right.
And has a lot of areas that, like much of the city on this east side, also have become kind of more hipster enclaves.
Right.
And that became one of the key factors in the race.
Cedillo has supported large multi-unit developments that are sold at market value. While many complain that this increases the overall market price, Cedillo argues that more units is exactly what the city needs, given a lack of housing. More units, along with affordable housing legislation and strict tenants' rights, is the solution, according to Gill. Bray-Ali's housing policy takes a more grassroots approach. He believes that community organizations and cooperatives should work in tandem with City Hall. Public funds should be used for affordable housing units. Red tape should be removed, which would make it easier for small to mid-sized property owners to open additional units for subletting. Another central issue in this election is transportation. Bray-Ali has made bike lanes an integral part of his campaign, owing to his background as a bicyclist advocate. In fact, the reason he says he got into the race to begin with was because Cedillo killed the creation of a bike lane on Figueroa's Northeast Corridor, which his organization had spent years trying to get made. Sonenshein believes it's about more than just the bikes, though.
Bikes versus cars. Yeah. And I would argue that it's not just about modes of transportation. It's about a metaphor. Class and age, and about sort of a younger generation looking toward a different kind of city, less car dependent. Now, people would complain about each side. People would complain about the bike people that they don't understand how much working class people depend on cars for work in this city. Look, if we had a perfect mass transportation system, this wouldn't be an issue, right? But we don't. So people are driving cars, they need to pay car insurance, and they need to get to their job. Now, on the other side, the bike people say that we're just going to choke with traffic.
Right.
And it's going to be bad for the economy, bad for our kids, bad for our lives. This is a rough battle. There's actually been a sense of confrontation between the bike world and the car world.
I guess the voters will decide come May 16th.
That's right.
Thanks for the update, Joe.
Not a problem, Jake. Update. Recorded May 11th, 2017. Since the recording of the first part of this segment, a lot has changed. The Bray-Ali camp took a series of serious blows that have resulted in losing most of their major endorsements, including the LA Times and Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell. Even Bike the Vote LA, a cyclist advocacy group, has had to disavow Joe. This all began with a story broken by the LAist about offensive comments made by Bray-Ali on Vote, a no-censorship internet forum tailored for individuals banned from Reddit. Bray-Ali used the N-word twice on a board of the same name. He commented on a board called Fat People Hate and also made transphobic remarks. Following this revelation, Joe attempted to clear the air by admitting to several other indiscretions in a Facebook post that began with, "Here's the dirt on me." These included not paying over $48,000 in taxes and having several extramarital encounters. even having a Tinder profile for a time. The candidate apologized for the comments made on Facebook Live. This did not satisfy many who believe the apology did not do enough to condemn his previous comments. Bray-Ali has claimed that the comments were leaked to the LAist by the Cedillo camp, which they have denied. On May 3rd, the Los Angeles County Democrats publicly requested Bray-Ali halt his bid. I spoke with Joe again a few nights ago and asked him what was keeping him in the race despite these many roadblocks.
Well, the bad news for the people that endorsed me is that their endorsements never meant too much to my campaign. I built a campaign that was built around neighborhood needs, and I was able to build a block of 8,000 votes in the primary, not because I had anybody from the LA Times phone banking or phone calling for me, but because I ran a legitimate door-to-door, neighbor-to-neighbor contact system. It's very similar to what other political campaigns did in the mid-'60s and '70s in this state. Someone told me it reminded them, and it kind of freaked me out when they said this, but they said, I think there was a race where Ronald Reagan ran for governor, which I was like, don't, please. I don't need any more comparisons with people I don't. But the way he ran his race was he sent a lot of core of young people at the time out to knock on doors.
Sure.
Did not need as much money to do it. It was simply the logistics of sending people out neighbor to neighbor. And we found a way, I feel, with sophisticated voter data, but also just relying more on the human-to-human contact of a natural human network, and then focusing in on real local issues, not broad sweeping generalities, not BS and propaganda. You need the propaganda, but really focusing on neighborhood by neighborhood issues. So I had the 19th century technique, the mid-20th century technique of going door to door, and I also had the modern 21st century techniques of running a good email campaign. I found that Facebook Live was a solid medium for me, and I have a good presentation on camera. So I'm able to go in depth on a local neighborhood issue, and the neighbors can see me, they can hear me talk about it with familiarity and a depth of knowledge, and they'll watch a 15-minute video that will only interest them in their neighborhood. And that kind of micro issue targeting in that very friendly, open format has worked for me, and it's allowed me to forego the money and the endorsements that most people would say you need. And despite what people say about my campaign being dead on arrival, maybe for the intellectual elite, maybe for the people that think that they run this city, but the reality is that we have made enough positive voter contact that I have a block of votes. I think we're going to really surprise people on election night. And frankly, if we're able to get enough people and volunteers out this weekend, this is totally within striking distance. It's not a slam dunk. It could probably come down to a few hundred votes if our plan is executed well, but that's within my sights. And I did not need to go and beg developers. I did not need major union backing. I did not need major corporations. I did this almost 100% on donors in, of, by, and for this district with people that are from this neighborhood. So I think that's the political model that has given me legs, despite with or without those endorsements. Of course, they were a huge boost for everyone on my team. Sure. And really the stumbling block I found was not the content of what I said online in the past. Some of it was really ignorant, some of it was very embarrassing. I think when you really read it, there's not too much there when you compare it with who I am as a person and the work I've done in the community. Like, clearly I know I'm not a racist, I'm not a bigot, I'm not a transphobe, but what really hurt me is that I was not prepared to respond when that news broke. My team was not prepared to respond. We built a wonderful operation with a bunch of green people, myself included as a candidate. We did not prepare opposition research on the other guy.
It seems this campaign, up against the onslaught of a well-tuned and well-funded Cedillo, might have been taken down by its own candidate. It's not going to stop Joe, though. He's going to keep pedaling to May 16th.